adverse effects are a great concern to humankind and its existence. And as a result, Kenya formulated the National Climate Change Response Strategy, which has been in existence since the year 2010. As a country, we have affirmed our position in mitigating climate change through cooperation with other states in line with the Kyoto Protocol on key areas such as international transfer of technology. Indeed, Kenya as well supports fully Israel's ideal that to address the challenges of climate change, both mitigation and adaptation are very critical, and that protecting our environment from the impacts of climate change requires regional and international cooperation. And with that, Kenya seeks partnership with Israel in research and development through various Kenyan institutions by facilitating exchange of knowledge through educational exchange programs with Israel. We propose, or rather invite you to take a group of 100 students and 100 environmental specialists from various institutions, preferably annually. Particularly in the area of students, we are quite rich in providing the program through our institutions, key being Kenyatta University, which has a department, or rather a facility that trains specifically on that. Of course, this is in acknowledgement of Israel's model of incorporating government, academia, and industry in climate change awareness for both mitigation and adaptation. Kenya further proposes partnership with Israel in policy formulation, primarily to increase Kenya's capability in handling climate change challenges. This would be through collaboration of Kenya's climate change research strategy as a tool and Israel's Climate Change Information Center, which as Kenya we acknowledge is a very key and strong institution in the Israeli government. Kenya indeed looks forward to partnering with Israel in continued cooperation and exchange of knowledge on climate change adaptation that will yield environmental benefits to both countries and to the world over. And finally, I want to take this opportunity as the Cabinet Secretary for Environment to welcome you, our counterparts in Israel and our partners. We acknowledge the much support that we've been according to each other, and again, I welcome you to sample our environment, our natural environment. We have beautiful parks, we have wonderful hospitality, we have awesome wildlife. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the offer. I assure you that we shall, once we are done with this. I welcome my fellow minister to respond.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Head of our delegation. We acknowledge your invitation. Thank you for having us here. Thank you so much. I think the minister has asked, the questions are direct and the issues are obvious. And I'll say firstly that the government of Israel is willing to support exchange programs on environmental education for students and environmental experts from both countries. There is a lot to learn from each other, and so we are willing to support. But then, Honorable Minister, I think 200 is a high number. We can only perhaps start with 50 and maybe see how we can review that number with time. My ministry with the Ministry of Education will work on the modalities and see how we can implement that soonest. The government of Israel is also willing to support the government of Kenya in policy formulation, especially on environmental issues. And so, and like you said, partnership between the Climate Change Research Secretariat in Kenya and our Climate Change Information Center is the best entry point. We will support that partnership, and we'll see how it will be realized soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister for Environment. I believe we are coming to a close of this important occasion. And at this juncture, I just want to say that indeed Israel and Kenya, we share a very special relationship all the way back to the Entebbe incident, through the 1998 bombing, and you have been a very important ally to us and you have helped us maintain a strong foothold in Africa, and we appreciate the over 50 years of good bilateral relationships that we've had. And indeed, over the years, we've provided expertise and training in modern agriculture through the MASHAV and the military training and communication. And I believe that from the talks that we have had today also, we will continue to offer more and will continue being partners to you as you try to achieve your development goals. And we want to assure you that we shall also partner with you as you achieve the Vision 2030. Kenya has helped Israel also to keep an eye on the Islamic terrorists. And as my colleague from the Ministry of Internal Security has said, we shall open up ways of intelligence sharing as we try to all combat the evil of terrorism. And currently in Kenya, as a government, we know that we have over 600 Jews living in Kenya, and their security is also of paramount concern to Israel. And we appreciate that we know that they are well, and that their business interests have also been maintained. And Israel promises to continue to promote shared beliefs and in the values of freedom, democracy, and tolerance, as well as the diplomatic, cultural, and economic ties that the two of us share. Hand over to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister. Honorable ministers, I would want once again to thank you for your various contributions to these talks today. We have had very fruitful deliberations this afternoon that revolved around cooperation and partnerships between these two countries in the areas of security, energy, agriculture, transport, environment, trade, immigration, and education. The responses have been positive and very encouraging to us as a country. And we once again want to acknowledge the cordial relations enjoyed by the two countries. I also wish to note that the proposed partnerships, the new partnerships that we have proposed in these talks are of essence, and I believe through them the peoples of our country will benefit greatly. And as we come to our conclusion, I'd like to note that the deliberations that we have made here today will culminate in the signing of very important bilateral agreements that will further strengthen the relationships of these countries, our two countries. And at this juncture, I beg to adjourn the meeting briefly so that we allow the finalization of the agreements and then we shall come back for the signing. Thank you very much.
Delegation, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Good evening. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the Nairobi round of talks for the bilateral talks between Kenya and Brazil. Our two countries have enjoyed very cordial and warm relations, which can be related to the cultural similarities that we share. As you will recall, in the year 2010, yes, Kenya hosted the then Brazilian president, His Excellency Luiz Lula da Silva, for bilateral talks. The cooperative agreements that were the results of those talks have given us a framework for a lot of trade and diplomatic activities over the last 5 years. Allow me to just point out one, which was recently held in Nairobi. That is the Brazil Eastern Africa Trade Expo in June 2015, which is just one among the many activities we've been able to do. So as we gather here today, we hope to continue in this spirit of cooperation and to strengthen our existing relations. During these talks, we take cognizance of the recent upsurge of terrorism globally, and we will be referring to it as we go through the talks. We, as Kenya, also take note of the steady growth that Brazil has had over the years since 1950s to its current status today as the 7th largest economy in the world. And without a doubt, our own economy in Kenya stands to gain a lot from relations with Brazil. So please allow me to now introduce the members of the Kenyan delegation. Starting from my extreme left, we have the Education Cabinet Secretary, Kuntai Ole Tingisha. Then we have Immigration and Refugee Affairs Cabinet Secretary, Kipambi Ntele. To my right, we have the Transport and Communications CS, Leah Gondi. To her left, we have the Energy CS, Sirajud So. And to my extreme right, we have the Internal Affairs and Security CS, Anes Kyoko. I am the Foreign Affairs and Internal Cooperation CS, Priska Mwai, and I will also be filling in for our Cabinet Secretary for Trade and Commerce. Welcome to the talks. I'll hand over to the head of the Brazilian delegation.
Good evening, distinguished delegates. My name is Evelyn Partoip. I'm the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Brazil. I'm here with a team from Brazil. On my left is Fatima Matemu, Minister for Transport and Communication, followed by James Mongera, Minister for Trade and Commerce. And then we have Bernard Meda, Minister for Immigration. And then we have Yvonne Katobu, Minister for Education. Brazil and Kenya ties date back to 1967 when we established the first 51st foreign mission in Kenya. We would also like to acknowledge that in the whole of Latin America, it's only in Brazil that Kenya has an embassy that has been in operation since 2006. Brazil-Kenya relations have seen high-level visits, as she mentioned earlier, whereby in July 2010, our former president, Lula da Silva, visited Kenya, and in return, the Foreign Affairs Minister for Kenya, Mr. Moses Wetangula, visited Brazil in September 2010. The two countries have had successful joint commission for cooperation, which laid down the framework for cooperation, culminating in exchange visits like the one we are having today. Distinguished representatives from Kenya and my colleagues from Brazil, we are here to further cement our relations with Kenya, which was initially chosen by Brazil as it expands its commercial interest in Africa. This is because Kenya has a good infrastructure, a skilled population, and a robust ICT sector. This is plus the geostrategic position of Kenya in Africa. The other reason is the Vision 2030 for Kenya presents a greater opportunity for further collaboration in terms of trade and development for both countries, and it also has an enabling environment for business. Our deliberations and negotiations will touch on different sectors, ranging from trade, immigration, education, transport, among others. Also within our interest is to look at ways to improve on Kenyan football, and in return, we hope they'll train our athletes. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome to Kenya. So to kick off the round of discussions, I'll request that we start with trade. I will be giving the proposals from the Kenyan delegation. In line with our aggressive development plans and infrastructure growth, we have considered the improvement of our airports, and to service the traffic that we expect as a result of the expansion, we intend to be going into capitalization on aircraft. We take cognizance of the fact that Brazil takes a lead in terms of manufacture of this. And so we would like to propose that we go into a partnership where we'll be requesting the Brazilian government to help us in supplying the Embraer aircrafts particularly. Also, as part of our proposals, we recognize that the Brazilian government only means well in its relations with us, but we have consistently had a problem with sugar barons, where we have a lot of sugar dumped into the country. We would like to request that the government assist us to nab this in the bud so that we can also preserve our internal sugar industry.
Mr. James Mongera.
Thank you very much, Madam CS. Brazil appreciates, as it has been said, the relations that exist, and especially on the trade front, we accept, and as we have said, discussions are still ongoing on the various agreements that have been signed by the visit of the previous president of Brazil, His Excellency Lula da Silva. We offer to give Kenya further training on the management of our planes that we sell to you, and that includes training of pilots on the same. However, we have further input and investment opportunities that we think Kenya can benefit from. That includes importation of waste management technology. Brazil is currently doing that, and we find that we are doing it very well. We are also interested in engaging on construction equipment, health equipment, and general technology. We are also doing very well on manufacture of biofuels, that is from sugarcane and other crops. And I wish to mention also that when in 2010, Kenya and Brazil agreed on a memorandum on the open sky memorandum or policy, and Brazil has finalized on its end. We wish to urge Kenya that it proceeds to ratify the memorandum so that we are able to have direct flights between Kenya and Brazil. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to take note of the proposals that you've made. We are happy that we can work together on this. We'll also take you up on the waste management. We'll request that the deliberations further go into that. And in terms of the open skies, we were working on a plan that will see the ratification done in early 2016. Okay. So we'll now move to the next round of talks, where I will welcome the Education Cabinet Secretary from Kenya, Kuntai Olatingisha.
Welcome delegates from Brazil and my fellow delegates from Kenya. My name is Kuntai Tingisha, the Cabinet Secretary for Education in Kenya. And the first point we want to note is that despite the barrier, the language barrier of your country being Portuguese and our country being Anglophone, we discover that we share a common system of education with only divergence at the higher education level, where our system enforces an 844 and your system is a 2633. There is a proposal within Kenyan legislative system that we adopt that system that is currently in Brazil, your country, and we therefore seek to benchmark, and we'll be seeking a benchmarking so that we see the cost-benefit analysis on how practicable that system will be for Kenya. There are issues that we will wish to cooperate and look at how we can cooperate as two countries. First of all is that we will wish, after studying your education system, we have discovered there is shortage of universities in Brazil. We want to encourage Brazil to take advantage of the many universities in Kenya. We have 7 public universities, among them best rated in the region and in the world. So we invite you that your students can be beneficiaries of this education system so that you can improve the job market in your country. On that, having noted the barrier, the language barrier, we also invite your government to consider opening a language institute within Kenya so that we can overcome the language barrier and also take advantage of the huge work resource that is available in Kenya. We also want to take this opportunity to invite Brazilians to study English and Swahili so that they are able to interact with Kenyans as they venture into those other activities that are of mutual advantage. We noted from previous discussions and deliberations that there exists mutual cooperation on education where a corner is set within the University of Lurivaldo to study information on Kenyan history and culture. We will be glad to welcome you to open a same or a similar corner within our institutions in Kenya so that the Kenyans can also get to be appraised on the culture, education, and history of Brazil. A further request is that we open Kenyan education centers, similar to the Canadian education centers that are available in Brazil. And this will encourage frequent bilateral academic exchanges. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll want to hear from the Brazil delegation, Education CS.
Thank you very much, Kenya, for the warm welcome that you've accorded us. Yvonne from the Ministry of Education, and I really appreciate the sentiments from my fellow CS who represents with me the same portfolio. And I really also appreciate for the highlights that he's given, and especially the ones that were requested by our former president when he visited the country, especially on the Kenya corner in our universities. As he has stated, in Brazil we do not have as much universities as in Kenya. But the few that we have, we realize that we have a professional challenge because the system is, the 2633 system does not have the university as a compulsory level. But we can work together with the professionals that we've had or we've molded from the far they have gone with the system,
I do not want to say that the system is, has its own challenges, but we really, really appreciate it because before the students move to what you call here universities or rather colleges, what we do, we usually mold them into professionals. Let's say we have engineers, that's why we have the best, especially in aircrafts. And I would like to extend the same to you through the same trainings. I also appreciate the fact that we have the language barrier, and I really appreciate the Kenyan for accepting one of our Portugal lecturers at your university, of Kenyatta University, who takes Portuguese very seriously. And I would also want the fact that you've requested for a language institute, I'll appreciate that we do it as an exchange program for both countries so that we can have the Kenya Language Institute in Brazil, and you can also have a Brazil, maybe Portugal Institute also here in Kenya, as well as the Education Center, because the corner that was requested by our former president does not really cater for all that. And I really appreciate for the support you've given us so far in ensuring that you've not only showed interest in what we have, but in what we can deliver also to you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. We will now move the talks to the Transport and Communication docket. I'll kindly request that we hear from the Kenyan delegate, Leah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Leah Gondi. I am the Cabinet Secretary for Transport and Communication. Road infrastructure is one of the key components of communication and development of nations. The Kenya Vision 2030 aspires for a country with integrated roads, interconnected railways, communication ports, airports, infrastructure, waterways, and communications, as well as provision of adequate energy. Kenya's road sector, therefore, has undergone many changes over the past 5 decades and has reached arguably its most illustrious period. Implementation of the road policy is expected to take the sector to the next level in the context of the 2010 Constitution. Therefore, my proposal to the Brazilian government would be to assist Kenya to decongest our roads because we normally suffer a lot of traffic. Probably you could help us with the systems, to put systems in place on how we can manage traffic, especially in the urban areas. Probably provide ideas on how to improve our railway systems, because I understand Brazil has one of the best railway systems in the world. Also, we would like you to assist us in improving aviation services in Kenya. We have about 181 airports, airstrips included. So we would like to request whether you can help us in